You are not the first human to walk this earth, not by a long shot. For most of our history, we were just one kind among many. We shared this planet with other humans, not metaphors, not myths, but real beings, with eyes that saw, hearts that beat, and minds that wondered. Some stood tall, others were small. Some hunted mammoths, others hid in caves. They laughed, loved, fought, dreamed. And then, one by one, they disappeared. All of them. Except us. Before skyscrapers scraped the sky, before the wheel turned, before the first words were spoken, there were humans. But not just us. For millions of years, Earth was home to more than one kind of human, a whole family of forgotten species, now lost to time. We weren't a miracle. We were just one branch of a messy, sprawling tree. To know who we are, we must first remember them. Our story begins, as all human stories do, in Africa. 6 to 7 million years ago, something astonishing happened. A primate took its first upright steps. Its name? Sahelanthropus chadensis. Discovered in Chad, its fossilized skull told of a creature still ape-like, but with a spine alignment that hinted at bipedalism. Not fully human, not quite ape, but walking a line between two worlds. From that moment, the journey began. 4 million years ago, a new figure emerged, Australopithecus afarensis, small, bipedal, quick, best known by one skeleton, Lucy. She lived over 3 million years ago, barely a meter tall, with long arms for climbing and feet made for walking. She may have used rudimentary tools. She may have formed basic social bonds. She left her footprints in volcanic ash in Tanzania, and in doing so, left our story behind. Around 2.8 million years ago, a new kind of being emerged. Not just another Australopithecine, but something closer to us. Homo habilis, the handyman. He shaped stone tools. He scavenged. He hunted. His brain grew larger, his fingers more dexterous. He didn't just survive, he adapted. With Homo habilis, the human genus had begun, but he was far from alone.
Next came Homo erectus,
A revolutionary, taller, stronger, more intelligent. He tamed fire. He journeyed beyond Africa to the Middle East, to Asia, even as far as Java in Indonesia. He thrived for nearly 2 million years. That's 10 times longer than Homo sapiens have even existed. He may have spoken. He definitely hunted in groups. He buried his dead. He built shelters. He passed down knowledge. We used to think evolution was a ladder, step by step up to us. But Homo erectus showed us evolution is a bush, a wild branching chaos of possibility. There were more. Homo rudolfensis, bigger brain, different skull. Homo ergaster, possibly an African version of erectus. Then came the truly strange. Homofloresiensis, the hobbit. 3 feet tall, lived on an island, crafted tools, hunted giant rats. Not a myth, a real human. Or Homo naledi, discovered deep in a South African cave. Small-brained, yet carefully burying their dead. What kind of mind did they have? And Homo luzonensis, a tiny human discovered in the Philippines, an island mystery species, lost to time. Some species we know from entire skeletons, others from a single tooth. Each one reshaped the tree. Each one whispered, "You were never alone." At certain points in history, 5 or more human species walked the earth at the same time. They had different bodies, different minds. Some were peaceful, others, perhaps not. Did they meet, trade, fight, fall in love? We now know they interbred. Their DNA is in us. But we'll come to that later. What matters here is this. We are not the main story. We are the last chapter of a very old book. Today we walk alone, but the silence of other humans is recent. For most of our history, We were just another species among many, not chosen, not special, just surviving. They were our siblings, our cousins, our competition, our kin. And though they are gone, they shaped us. We don't walk alone in memory. Their stories are buried under sand, sealed in caves, encoded in our blood, and we are finally learning to listen. This chapter was only the beginning. Next, we'll follow them out of Africa into the wild unknown. We'll track their migrations and uncover the rise of a global human family.
In the beginning, they were rooted.
For millions of years, the story of humanity unfolded on one stage, Africa. It was our cradle, our forge, our beginning. But something changed. A few brave ones, perhaps chasing game, perhaps fleeing drought, looked past the familiar horizon, and they walked. They became the first explorers in human history, and they would change the world forever. We call them Homo erectus. They weren't the first humans, but they were the first to leave home. 2 million years ago, they stepped out of Africa into the wild unknown. They didn't know what lay beyond the mountains, beyond the rivers, beyond the sea. But still, they walked. Across savannas, deserts, forests, and coasts. Generation by generation, step by step, until they had crossed continents. From Eastern Africa, they reached the Middle East. From there, across ancient Arabia, into the heart of Asia. Some ventured north, where winter clawed at their skin. Others moved east into lush green valleys now lost to time. They left their stone tools behind. They lit fires in caves. They adapted. Their bones have been found in Georgia, China, Indonesia, even Java. Everywhere they went, they survived. For nearly 2 million years, Homo erectus was one of the most successful species to ever walk the earth. But they weren't alone. Others followed, others emerged. Homo heidelbergensis, a descendant of erectus, appeared in both Africa and Europe. Stronger, smarter. He hunted big game. He made sharper tools. He's believed to be the common ancestor of both Neanderthals and Homo sapiens. Then came the lesser-known wanderers. Lost names, faint bones. Homo antecessor, found in Spain, possibly the first Europeans. And deep in the rising mist of Southeast Asia, tiny beings emerged. On the island of Flores, there lived a mystery, Homofloresiensis. Just 3 feet tall, with chimp-sized brains. Yet they made tools, hunted, controlled fire. Trapped on an island, they evolved downward, a process called island dwarfism. When they were first discovered, scientists thought it was a hoax. It wasn't. They were real, tiny, clever, forgotten. Until now.
Then, another, Homo luzonensis, found in a cave in the Philippines, an entirely different human, distinct from all others. How did they get there? No one knows. They didn't walk across land. They had to cross the sea. Did they build rafts? Did they drift by accident? These were not primitive apes. They were adventurers, like us. Everywhere you look in the ancient world, humans had spread. Multiple species across multiple continents at the same time. Africa, Asia, islands, even southern Europe. Some had fire, some made art, some buried their dead. They weren't mistakes of nature, they were branches of the same tree, each evolving under different skies, different pressures, different hopes. And then, hidden in a remote cave in the Altai Mountains, scientists found a fragment of bone. It didn't belong to a Neanderthal or a sapiens. It belonged to someone else, a new species entirely unknown. They were called the Denisovans. We still don't know what they looked like. No full skeleton has ever been found, but we have their DNA, and their ghost lingers in the genes of people living today in Tibet, Australia, and Melanesia. They were real, and they too had walked far from home. Human migration was not a single journey. It was a symphony of wanderings over centuries, millennia, and eons. Each step altered the course of evolution. Each crossing rewrote the map of the possible. And wherever they went, they left something behind: tools, bones, and eventually, us. They didn't have compasses or language as we know it, but they walked farther than we can imagine, crossed terrains more dangerous than any modern explorer. And because they walked, we are everywhere. They were more than wanderers. They were the builders of our world. They didn't just leave Africa. They transformed Earth into a human planet. Not one kind of human, but many. Different voices, different faces, different faiths, and one by one, most of them would vanish. But not yet. Not here. Not in this chapter. The world was still wild. The human family still vast. The age of wandering had only just begun.
They were the ones we feared, the ones we fought, and the ones we became. Not monsters, not myths, but our ancient kin. They hunted, loved, sang, and died beneath the same sky. They built shelters, tended fires, buried their dead. They were human, but they were not us. They were Neanderthals, and for a time they ruled the Ice Age world. For hundreds of thousands of years, while early humans still wandered Africa, Neanderthals made a home in Europe and Western Asia. They were built for the cold, thick bodies, broad noses, powerful muscles. A Neanderthal could crush bone with a single arm. But they weren't brutes. They were skilled hunters, clever tool makers, even artists. In caves in Spain and France, they left behind symbols, dots, handprints, and animals drawn in ochre and charcoal. The earliest known cave art may not have been ours. It may have been theirs. Neanderthals thrived in a harsh world, a world of saber-toothed cats, woolly mammoths, bitter winters, and unforgiving terrain. They huddled around fires, wore tailored hides, and survived for nearly 400,000 years. Think about that. They outlasted every empire in human history combined. Yet today, they are gone. Why? One theory points to a meeting with us. Around 60,000 years ago, Homosapiens began migrating out of Africa once again, this time for good. And in the frozen valleys of Europe and Asia, they met their cousins face to face. Not all encounters were peaceful. Some ended in conflict, but others ended in something far more intimate: love, or at least reproduction. We now know, without doubt, that Neanderthals and Homo sapiens interbred. Their genes live on in all of us. If you're of European or Asian descent, you carry between 1% to 2% Neanderthal DNA. Their legacy lingers in your immune system, your skin, even how you sleep. They didn't vanish. Not completely. They became a part of us. And in the shadow of the Neanderthals, another species hid, unseen for millennia.
In 2008, in the Denisova cave in southern Siberia, scientists uncovered a single shattered finger bone. It didn't match Homo sapiens, and it didn't match Neanderthals. It was something else. A new species. Unknown. Unnamed. They called them Denisovans. To this day, we've never found a complete Denisovan skeleton. We don't know what they looked like, but we know they were real. We know they bred with both sapiens and Neanderthals, and we know where they left their mark. In Tibet, many people carry Denisovan DNA. That gene helps them survive high altitudes. Without it, they couldn't breathe on Mount Everest. Their influence stretches even further, to Melanesia, Australia, Southeast Asia. They weren't rare. They were widespread. They were family. By 40,000 years ago, the Ice Age world was full of human life. Not just sapiens, but at least 3 distinct species: Neanderthals, Denisovans, and us. Sometimes they clashed, sometimes they coexisted, sometimes they created life together. The Earth was not a single species world, but a tangled web of human relatives sharing land, fire, and fate. Imagine that world. You walk through a forest and meet someone who isn't quite like you, but close. Their face is broader, their voice deeper, their gestures strange yet familiar. You don't know their name. You don't speak their language, but you recognize them. Because they are you, and you are them. And then, slowly, they disappeared. First the Denisovans, fading into mystery, then the Neanderthals. By about 40,000 years ago, the last of them vanished from the fossil record. What caused it? Climate? Competition? Disease? Or was it us? Did we overwhelm them with numbers, outcompete them for food, bring unknown pathogens they could not resist? Or did we simply absorb them until nothing remained but memory and genes? Today, we walk alone, but our blood is not pure. It is a mosaic, a mixture, a memory. The Neanderthals and Denisovans may be gone, but they live in us. Every step we take, every breath we draw in high mountain air is a silent echo of their survival. They were never shadows. They were never monsters. They were human. Their faces are lost to time, but their story is ours.
We were never destined to rule this world. For most of history, we were not alone. We shared the earth with others, stronger, hardier, better adapted. But today, we are the only ones left. How? Why did all the others vanish? And how did we, fragile, soft-skinned Homo sapiens, become the last human standing? It began in Africa. Always Africa. Around 300,000 years ago, something new stirred in the heart of the continent. Not just a new species, but a new kind of mind. Homo sapiens, the wise human. We looked like others, but we thought differently. We imagined, we planned, we remembered. We were not stronger, but we were more flexible. We told stories, made art, buried our dead with purpose, shared information through language. This was our advantage, not our fists, not our speed, our minds. And those minds led us on a journey unlike any other. Around 70,000 years ago, we left Africa for good. Across deserts, rivers, mountains, and oceans, we expanded into every corner of the world. Into Arabia, India, China. We crossed into Europe, where Neanderthals waited. We reached Indonesia, where tiny hobbits once thrived. We met the Denisovans in Siberia. We touched every land except Antarctica. Where others specialized, we adapted. In ice, we built fires and fur-lined clothing. In jungle, we hunted in silence. On islands, we sailed. In deserts, we stored water and memories. We survived drought, cold, predators, famine, not because we were the best at any one thing, but because we were good enough at everything. We did not always fight. We learned. We borrowed tools. We took mates. We shared genes. But slowly, the others disappeared. Neanderthals, gone by 40,000 years ago.
Denisovans, faded into fragments of DNA. The hobbits of Flores, vanished. Homo erectus, extinct. Homo naledi, buried deep in the caves of time.
All of them. Gone. Except us. Why? There is no single answer. Perhaps it was our weapons, bows, traps, coordinated hunts. Perhaps it was our stories, allowing information to outlive the teller. Perhaps it was our numbers, outbreeding the others. Or maybe it was luck. But one thing is clear. When the dust settled, only one species remained. By 20,000 years ago, we had conquered the globe. We reached the coldest regions. We crossed into the Americas. We hunted mammoths in Siberia and mastodons in North America. We built canoes, stone tools, fire pits, and future empires. And in doing so, we erased the rest. They left behind bones, artifacts, DNA fragments, and echoes. But no cities, no monuments, no writing. Their stories are gone, unless we tell them. We are their legacy, we are their witnesses, and we are their only surviving voice. Today, when you look in the mirror, you don't just see Homo sapiens. You see the Neanderthals, the Denisovans, the unknown cousins who walked before you. They are in your blood, your bones, your breath. You carry all of them inside you. We were not meant to walk alone, but we do. And the world, so full of voices, has gone quiet. We are the last survivors, the last chapter of a great and ancient book. But if we listen closely, we may still hear the whispers of those who came before.
Time does not speak. It whispers in scattered bones, in worn tools, in the dust of caves where no light has fallen for 100,000 years. This is all that remains of the forgotten species. No statues, no temples, no words, only echoes. Every year, we dig a little deeper into the earth and into ourselves. From the highlands of Tibet to the jungles of Indonesia, from the frozen steppes of Siberia to the sun-bleached deserts of South Africa, we uncover fragments of ancient lives. A finger bone here, a worn tooth there, a footprint fossilized in volcanic ash. Each one a whisper from a world long lost. Some discoveries rewrite everything. In the darkness of the Rising Star Cave, a new species emerged, Homo naledi. Not tall, not large-brained, but complex, intentional. They may have buried their dead. They may have entered those caves with purpose, with ritual, with memory. And they weren't alone in showing signs of soul. In Shenadar Cave, in northern Iraq, a Neanderthal was laid to rest, sprinkled with pollen from wildflowers. Was it accident or mourning? Was it ceremony? Was it love? We may never know for sure, but we see the evidence and we feel the weight of it. They left their hands on cave walls, their symbols on stone, their tools in the soil. We found their fire pits, their shelters, their hunting camps and hearths. We found their footprints, still frozen in the ground. And even now, beneath layers of ash and time, they are still speaking. Their DNA lives on, not just in our blood, but in science. We've extracted ancient genomes, mapped their lineages, traced them through history, in your skin, your lungs, your brain. They left messages in your body,
invisible, yet indelible. But for every answer, 10 more questions rise. How many were there? How many species have we not found? How many bones still sleep beneath our feet? What other names will we one day give to our ancestors? What stories are still buried? Because make no mistake, this story isn't finished.
Once, the earth was full of voices. Different languages, different bodies, different ways of being human. Now, only one voice remains. But in the fire, in the soil, in the sky, the others still echo. We are not just Homosapiens. We are Neanderthal, Denisovan, Floresiensis, Luzonensis, Erectus, Naledi. We are every forgotten name, every vanished dream. To know ourselves, we must remember them. They walked this earth, just like you. Their stories were not lost, only hidden. And now, you know. So don't let them be forgotten again. Share this story. Spread their names. Light the fire. Because as long as we remember them, they are still here. And if this journey moved you, if you felt a connection to those ancient souls, or you learned something new about yourself, like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share your thoughts. What surprised you most? Which species made you pause? Which ones do you think we've yet to discover? Let's keep the memory of these ancient humans alive, together.